forgot to ask, what's the quality like? Am I all right?
Hey, you're good.
Cool.
Look great.
If we have problems, might have to switch Discord to EU
Sure.
because I know that sometimes it has trouble if one's NA and one's EU.
Yeah, let me know because I've never done that before, so you can walk me through it.
It's really easy. It's just like I think there's like a drop down or something. Yeah, if you uh, hover over, um, like in our chat thing, it'll say region and it says US South.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
You just change that.
gotcha. Okay,
But if we're all right, it's just if you notice me start to be laggy or whatever, then just change that.
sounds good. Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for it. Okay, so perfect. Let me get my YouTube thing pulled up here.
I'll just post in the
I'll throw something up on.
Discord.
Probably have to turn it on. All right, perfect.
Cool. Are we live on YouTube as well?
I'm not sure. I'll have to dive
You should
in,
have a link.
check it out. If it's not, I might need to turn it on somewhere else. If not, I can throw it up there since it downloads anyway. So,
All right.
cool. All
No
right.
worries.
So, today we're meeting with Evar from Sanctum Breach, and we're checking out the new Warbringer class. So, a lot has changed since we were last checking out this game between UI, additional content, obviously, this new class, and really just a lot of progress. So, we're going to dive in, check it all out. And so, Evar, what's going on, man?
So, so yeah, like you said, a lot of changes. uh, a lot of bug fixes. The game's much smoother now than it was like 4 or 5 months ago that we last done a video. There's been a heck of a lot of balance changes as well. So overall, the game's in a lot more polished state.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, it definitely looks a lot more polished, which is fantastic. Especially just from a UI standpoint, the new equipment UI and the crafting UI look fantastic, especially this one down here. So, what all kind of went into that process?
yeah, so one of the community members, he's also an indie dev working on an ARPG. He decided to do the UI for me. Um, so that was a massive help because part of the Kickstarter was just trying to overhaul the UI and get it looking like somewhat professional.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think he's done a great job. Like it really flows now. It feels like sort of a nice organic UI. So
Absolutely, I dig it. So it looks like we have a new skill tree too.
so this is the expanded skill tree. Basically, with the Warbringer class, I'm doing a few things differently, like the way I handle animations, and the complexity and size of the skill trees as well. This is what every skill tree in the game is going to look like eventually. I'm just rolling out these changes with the Warbringer and seeing how people respond to them, and then I can tweak them and then universally apply them if everyone's happy with them.
Awesome. So I mean, so far, how's the original, or I guess the kind of the feedback been?
Yeah, really good. Just a few things needed tweaking, so just sort of like the AoE on your starting skill slam, it felt a bit sort of like off.
Mm-hmm.
But I've increased that, so hopefully it should feel nicer to use. Just general sort of like bits and pieces like that, more balanced than anything. But yeah, the overall sort of feedback has been good.
Awesome. I'm kind of going through and looking at these nodes, and
Yeah,
they look pretty badass.
yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted that sort of like you have to really sit there and think about it and plan it out because
Mm-hmm.
obviously you only get 20 points max, and that's if you level your skill up the whole way, which obviously takes quite a chunk of time. So I want the investment to be worthwhile, but actually like a meaningful choice, not just a case of grabbing the majority of nodes like it is currently.
Absolutely. So, are you
But
able to have
I aim
multiple?
for at least 50. Sorry, I was
No,
just gonna say I aim for at least 50 points in total, so you can't even get half.
gotcha. That's brutal, man. Can you
It
have?
just promotes replayability as well, obviously, because you can play the same class, use the same skill, but have a completely different experience if you take different major nodes.
Gotcha. Can you take multiple major nodes?
Yeah, yeah, you can take any combination you want. You just have to obviously be able to reach them.
Be able to plan it out a little bit.
Mhm.
So, looks like you can respec to. Is this what type of respec system is this? Is this like Diablo? Is it like a Path of Exile or a Last Epoch?
More akin to Last Epoch. Basically, it's a complete respec. You just put the skill back to level one, and it takes everything away from you, and you can level it up again and make your choices again.
Gotcha. Awesome. So yeah, this is a totally blind playthrough for me too. Like I haven't jumped on. I know when you told me that the Warbringer was out there, I was very. It was very difficult for me not to jump out there and play through it. So I'm going in this completely blind, but I really like this passive. So if you're below 50% and you take damage, it heals you to full health. Occurs once every 300 seconds. And in combat, you have 50% increased speed if you're at 100. And if you fall below 100, you lose that and restore when you return to 100.
Yeah, I've actually changed that already.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I've kept the healing portion, but I've
Crafting a
changed
starting kit might
the
be a
other
good
half,
idea.
the increased speed, because I felt like it didn't really match the theme of the Warbringer, because the Warbringer is meant to be quite sort of like a slow, heavy class. Having more speed didn't really seem to fit that well. So I've changed it so that you can only wield one weapon, be it a one-hander or a two-hander, but you
Relics
get
are
bonus
potions
weapon
that can be
damage
activated by pressing
every level.
one for health,
So
Gotcha.
it
two for
essentially
shield,
makes your
and
weapon
three for
choice
mana.
more impactful.
There are some
So you
charges
can't
when
like
used, and regain
uh,
charges upon
have
fully
two like unique
used.
one-handers and get the effect from both. However, you've got more overall weapon damage. So because you're a pure melee class, it makes your level and experience smoother. Whereas otherwise, you'd be relying on finding good weapons.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I haven't uploaded the changes just yet. I'm waiting until I finish the next two skills. But your starting skill slam will have slightly more AoE because at the moment it's very sort of like you have to be like pixel perfect with your cast.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you're not going to hit people.
so that's what I'm kind of noticing here. But
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of major nodes that focus on increasing your AoE.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't want it to be this sort of like this huge like screen wide sort of effect because it is your starting skill. And I do try and make the starting skills more sort of like not single target but less AoE heavy than the later skills that you find, just to sort of ease the player into it, so it's not sort of like screen explosions from level one.
Yeah, no joke. I absolutely agree. Because I mean, that's that's part of the issue I see with some action RPGs out there is you almost feel like, oh, I can just grab this one skill, it's just gonna completely wipe things out, and you don't really get that
Yeah,
sense of progression.
yeah, and with Warbringer, I'm really trying to focus on skill cohesion as well. So you'll notice with this, it's quite a big sort of heavy hit and it's
Mm-hmm.
slow. And then the next skill that you unlock, Earthquake, at level three, it's low damage, but it's faster and it's a proper AoE. So you have those sort of like you've got the slam for the bosses and then earthquake for the small enemies.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try and build skills with sort of like a goal in mind. And I've kind of like slipped away from that aspect a little bit on the other classes.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm really trying to get back to that on the Warbringer, and then that's just one of the things that I'm focusing on. And then if that goes well, I can go back to the other classes and sort of like shore up any weaknesses that they have.
Yeah. No, I think you definitely hit the nail because it feels like a juggernaut,
Yeah.
which is great. I think that the something like this definitely needs to feel like that slow, powerful kind of just unstoppable force. So I think it
Yeah,
does feel good.
yeah, that's really what I'm trying to capture. You want that sort of like you're this big brute that's gonna deal big heavy hits, but you have to actually land those hits. And small fast enemies might get away from you, or they might kill you in that time while you're like lifting up that big weapon to slam on the head. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I really focused on sort of like camera shake and small little nuances in the animations on this class as well. So
Gotcha.
if you are like one of those players that really wants to focus on sort of like um, the not so much the role playing of a class, but like really hone in on the combat feel,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm trying to sort of like cater to that player. I think it just helps make combat feel more polished as well, to have that sort of like attention to detail, as it were.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I think that's a nice touch. Chris Wolf, what's going on, guys? How we doing? Just checking out the new Warbringer class. So now we got level 3. We can get Earthquake and can
Yeah.
start working on some stuff here.
Yeah. Next wave of skills will include a fan favorite, Cyclone. You gotta have some spin to win.
Spin to win, baby. Let's get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually have two forms of spin to win. One will be Cyclone, and it's I don't know how to describe it. It's not channeled. It's a point and click, and then you go in that direction for a set period of spins. So it's 5 spins. And then stacking attack speed will make the animation faster, but it'll always be 5 spins. And then another version is going to be Whirlwind, and this will be sort of like the one that people are a little bit more familiar with. Because I've seen both versions in ARPGs, but the Whirlwind one will be like the channeled one where you control where you go with your cursor, and each spin will be like a footstep, so to speak.
Gotcha.
So you can have the one where you're spinning in a line and dealing massive damage in that line, and then you can have the one where you're doing like these small little spins. Instead of running, you're spinning.
Awesome. Yeah, because I know when when you put that out on Twitter and you were showing the spin to win or the whirlwind stuff, it was fantastic. I know a lot of people were so amped up.
Yeah, people love spinning around, don't they?
Absolutely. What's
Hey.
going on, guys? Alpha, Chris, Asu, what's up? Yeah, no, choosing between a jumper and a spinner is going to be tough. But why choose, right?
Yeah.
Why not just do both?
Yeah, just do both. Yeah, I really want Warbringer to just be that sort of like amalgamation of classic melee skills. Though you want like if you want to play that typical melee character, then this is hopefully going to be the class for you.
Yeah. Now,
Where
I was gonna say,
I feel like
was this one that the fans helped design?
yeah. I mean, people, the community's always had a hand in the design of skills and classes, but I really try and lay everything out with the Warbringer. Like I post the planned skills on Discord and stuff, and then people can have their say on it and stuff. So
Awesome. Yeah, because I know
yeah,
that was a big thing for some of the folks with the Kickstarter. They really were excited to
yeah,
get to help design.
yeah. There's a few community-driven design aspects stemming from Kickstarter as well.
It's awesome.
So yeah, one of the things that people are really excited for, but I have been trying to get it working, and so far I haven't had any luck. It's dual wielding two-handers. Um, I'm having the issue at the moment with animations
Mm-hmm.
because the trouble is when you say, for example, if you look at this idle animation,
Yeah.
if you had two-handers equipped during this idle animation, I'd have to change the position of the sockets
Mm.
um, that the weapon gets equipped to, and you would have to hold one sort of like down by your foot and the other one up like by your head in some sort of like weird way. Um, so I'm thinking the only way I can really get around that is making it so that when you dual wield the two-handers, it will be class mastery specific, and I'll have to change the animation graph
Mm-hmm.
for that class mastery, which I've done on other classes. That's not a problem. It's just about finding those good animations for dual wield two-handers um, on the marketplace.
Is there
Um,
is there a big market of those, or a big, I guess, selection?
no, no, I've had a look and I can't find any that would be suitable. So I'm thinking what I'm going to have to do is hire someone to make them,
Oof.
which, yeah, can obviously get pricey. So that might be something that I have to change and then revisit with a different class,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps like a berserker or something like that instead of the warbringer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm definitely going to try and make it work in some capacity. I considered doing sort of like the cheap alternative of having it so that it's not a visual thing. It's just like a stat stick.
Yeah.
But then I thought it's kind of pointless doing that then because the reason people want it is that it looks cool. They don't
Yeah.
really care about the stats. So
That's true. I know. I mean, I never mained like a Titan grip warrior in World of Warcraft, but I know a lot of people who did, and it was purely just for the the badassery of being able to like wield.
visual, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and I don't want to take that moment away from people and leave them feeling cheated. So I'd rather hold off. It's the same with anything in the game. If I can't do it properly, I'd rather just wait until I can,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just half-assing it and having sort of like a cheap experience.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think that's the right way to approach it, and I wish I wish other developers and kind of had that same thought process.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, they might do, but there's so much more that goes into it, like publishers, financials, time constraints. It's not always
Yeah, and
what the developer wants, but
I think the time constraint's probably a really good one that you called out, just because it just seems like you know developers typically they want to be able to do everything that they need to do, but at the same time, it's just they're not able to. It's just too little time, and it's not good.
yeah, it's always the way. I mean, whenever you create anything, not just games, like I suppose the same with like videos, music, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
you can always do it better, but it's just about knowing when to stop and just say enough's enough and releasing it.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, you get stuck in that sort of development hell where you're constantly trying to perfect something that can't be perfected.
Precisely. How good is good enough type of deal.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep,
Hager,
there's a
there is a new UI.
new UI.
FYI.
There's also something that I don't know if you've picked up on yet, but I've really worked on movement and like cursor control and stuff. So like meshes fade now, and you can click on trees, and you won't. I don't know if you can remember, but if you used to click on trees, you used to like try and run into them and like run up the branches and stuff.
Yeah,
But,
that was one thing I tested when we were just by the Spider Kings. Is I clicked up on that terrain, and it didn't happen. So yeah, no,
yeah,
that was a big thing.
yeah, all of that's done now.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that
It's just one of
was.
those things I've really like tried to hone in on um, polish and just making the game feel nice to play because I already had like a plethora of content. I mean, I entered alpha with sort of like hundreds of hours worth of content, which is like unheard of really. But I think the biggest mistake I made was that the polish wasn't to the same level.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, there wasn't a lot I could do about it because I didn't have the budget or the experience as a developer because obviously it's my first game
Yeah.
to know what level that needed to be at. But I'm kind of working backwards and revisiting all the content and really polishing it and trying to make it feel nice.
Definitely, it's definitely an improvement. I will say for sure. Like it feels very smooth. So I think it definitely has paid off, which is great. So good
Yeah, I
work so
mean,
far, man.
there's obviously still stuff to do. It's only in pre-beta at the moment. I delayed beta. Well, I didn't delay beta. I just went to a different development phase. Um, because there wasn't a dedicated melee class in the game, and I didn't really want to end a beta without one because I feel like beta is the time that people start to expect a bit more from the
Mm.
game, and to not have a dedicated melee class in an ARPG is just is not on.
You can't have that.
No. So yeah, I'm really taking this. I'm taking the patches nice and slow. I'm not giving myself deadlines or anything like that. It's done when it's done. And the end of pre-beta will be when the Warbringer's in. It's all polished. All the current content is polished. It's the best it can possibly be,
Mm-hmm.
with reason, obviously. Like I'm not gonna spend years in this like early access flux.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if it takes 3 months, if it takes 6 months, it's all the same to me. And then at that point, we can move into beta, um, and then start rolling out more in-game content and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I know, and see, that's just such a tried and true approach. We've seen that work with games like Last Epoch. We saw it work with games like Warframe. I mean, even Path of Exile to a certain extent. But just taking the time you need and being able to not necessarily just rush through everything. So I think that's definitely the way to do it. Um,
Yeah. Like, I just I don't understand this philosophy of sort of like putting a game out and then having to almost relaunch the game with every
mhm,
major patch because you need to drastically change all these like fundamental game systems.
exactly.
Um, it seems to be a sort of trend lately, though, doesn't it? Like that games will like reinvent themselves every sort of like major patch, even after release.
It's true, and that's something that my Discord talks about quite a bit too. Is it seems like every game has to have a 2.0 patch these days.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's the 2.0 sort of like meta, isn't it? Like,
Exactly. It's like, oh well, I'm gonna launch this game. That's fine, and we're just gonna assume there's gonna be a 2.0 patch that fixes everything.
yeah, I think it would be really interesting to sort of like take game development back, sort of like a decade where you didn't have that second chance because you were printing to disk. You had to
Yes.
be sure that what you were putting out was the best that it could be
Yeah.
because otherwise you're spending like God knows how much money
Oh, for
on
sure.
something you're gonna have to like recall and redo.
Exactly. And
I think early access has basically given developers a free pass at bugs
I sense a
and
shrine nearby.
unpolished content. I mean, I've been guilty of it myself as well because I think it's only early access is not a big deal. I can just wait and do it later.
mm-hmm. And see, I mean, even thinking back, right? So the first game that I ever had experienced DLC with was actually is Halo 2. The Xbox with like a map pack, Oh hey, we have this new set of maps, and you have to get them to play with your friends type of deal. And that was a disc, and that disc had to sit in your Xbox to play, and it was just to me that was such a foreign concept, and it's weird looking back because now it's like, oh, that's such a normal thing these days.
Yeah, yeah. Just reading in chat about the leap and the airtime at the top. Thanks. That's something that I was talking about. I'm not sure if you were here when I was talking about it, but I really wanted this class to feel slow and impactful. So having that delay at the top of the leap and then coming down sort of like hard and heavy with that big sort of like visual effect as well. That's something that I really want this class to encapsulate. You can see it as well with Slam, but not as much. But when you bring the weapon up overhead, there's sort of a little delay before it comes down. Um, Basically, with these animations, I extended those portions and made them like slower, so they do feel impactful when they like go off, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like Looney Tunes, isn't it? It's kind of like that over exaggerated sort of like cartoon effect.
Feels
But
weighty.
yeah, exactly. But it does. It makes it feel sort of more impactful rather than that sort of like almost like like Korean Asian sort of like speed. I don't know how to put it, like that zip zip like sort of like gameplay.
So I see we have a weapon drop from
Yes,
that boss.
yeah, I forgot about that. Well, it's hard to keep track of like who knows the game at what stage and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I added weapon drops. I done a playthrough with Taki Cat from the Path of Exile
Mm-hmm.
community, and they were all everyone in chat was like, "Where's the weapons? Where's the weapons?" um, and I was saying about how like I wanted gameplay and especially the campaign for melee characters to be really like smooth. So having these sort of like almost guaranteed crafting opportunities
Mm-hmm.
allowed for a much smoother progression curve. But during the discussion, I kind of like realized that I could still have that whilst also having the weapon drops as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I added a bunch of weapon drops. Is the short answer to that.
No, I like it. I think it gives just that extra feeling of depth a little bit in terms of like, you know, this one in particular isn't better than what I have, but at the same time it has a higher base weapon damage and has a movement speed increase.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That was the big thing with the weapon drops. I wanted to make it so that the weapon damage was always going up.
mhm.
Um, but then obviously the weapons that you craft are legendaries, so they've always got 6 stats. So it's kind of that trade-off between do I want more health and like potentially like I don't know crit chance or movement speed, like these additional stats versus just raw damage.
Do you have any I'll say like intention of making those crafting?
In terms of what? Sorry.
So like that weapon that dropped, right? From that first boss. Well, do you have any intention of like turn that into like a crafting requirement, like maybe like a crafting recipe that can take that particular weapon and change it into something else, or because you know how for some of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah. So crafting is something that I'm really going to be digging into, but more as an end game sort of like feature.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be the crafting dungeon, which will be an endless set of zones.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll come back to that. I just wanted to say that I've changed Endless Abyss, so now the game has a truly endless form of endgame content. So Endless Abyss scales indefinitely. People have been up to like floor like 200 and something, I think.
That's awesome.
Um, and it uses 13 of the story zones. And then Crafting Dungeon will use the other 13 because there's 26 story zones in total.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've got like their own sort of enemies, and each zone has like mini bosses and main bosses, and like unique loot for those enemies and stuff. Because I've added in loads of set items and uniques as well, by the way, since the last time you've played. So
Awesome.
there's I think there's about like 50 sort of end game items that you can chase. That there's like cast on crit items, cast on non-crit, like all that sort of stuff in the
That's
game now. So
badass.
yeah, but yeah. Anyway, I always go off on these tangents.
No,
The
hey, do it to it,
crafting
man.
thing. There's going to be a crafting dungeon, which uses the other 13 story zones. And in this crafting dungeon, you'll gain essences from normal enemies and ruins from the bosses.
Mm-hmm.
And with them, you can basically create any item in the game that you want. You pay for a base item,
Mm-hmm.
and then using the essence, you add stats onto that base item, and then obviously it gets more expensive depending on what stats you're adding and how many you've added and stuff like that. And then the ruins you craft onto crafted items, and these ruins have different like passive effects to them. So it might have like a cast on crit effect, it might have like a heal over time, or like a burn or a bleed, something like that.
That's awesome.
So that's one thing I'm doing with crafting. The other thing is to have like sort of like crafting shrines and monuments in endgame dungeons. So this was actually a request from a Kickstarter supporter. He wanted a dungeon based on sort of like a Midas touch, sort of like mythical trial.
Okay.
So when you go into this dungeon and you kill the boss, you unlock their sort of like monument, and then you can sort of sacrifice items to this monument with a chance to make them better. He just wanted sort of like a dungeon that you could keep going back to, and it would have an effect even after you've got all the loot you want from there.
That's really cool, actually. Like, that's one of the things I love about your game, though, is there's just so much creativity, and it deviates so much from what you typically see, right? It's almost like most of these games have a template they follow, or something that, well, I know for a fact, these 5 things are going to be in here, and this is probably what the end game's going to be, and this is probably what this is going to be. But when it comes to like indie projects like yours, it's just so refreshing, because it's like, cool, now, I don't know what's around the corner. I don't know what else I'm going to run into.
Yeah, I really want Endgame to be like no other ARPG, and I know people say that all the time, but I really do mean it.
Yeah.
I never want, because like obviously I'm a massive ARPG player myself, and I know again people say that all the time, but I was like top 10 Perfect Ladder Racer for years. Like I pushed Paragon and Diablo, like I like spammed the shit out of Diablo 2.
This is just your jam,
like,
man.
yeah, I've been around the block.
Yeah.
But I always felt forced to do certain content in order to stay at that really like pinnacle of competitive play.
Yeah.
And obviously in any game there is always going to be the optimum route, there's always going to be the optimum content, the optimum build. But if you can take steps to expand what that optimum route is, then why not?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I just want there to be such a plethora of content that it becomes super hard to find that optimum route, because there is so many different choices you can make. Like I want there to be literally like hundreds of zones that you could potentially be farming in, not just a case of like, oh, this map drops, so I've got to run this map, or this boss drops this item, so I've got to kill this boss.
Mm-hmm.
I will have that. I will have target farming and stuff like that, because it's not always about optimum XP or optimum items per minute or whatever. Sometimes it is about needing that specific item, or just simply because you enjoy doing that content. Like I think that's something that's really been lost as well in ARPGs. Just fun for the sake of fun, because you like killing that boss, or you like the look of that zone, or you like how those enemies play, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think more variety can never hurt. And as long as the content you're putting out is balanced and is polished and all that sort of stuff, then why not have more of it?
And I think that's where your action RPG really is going to find a home with a lot of those hardcore fans. Is it's all geared towards end game, right? And there isn't
very game-centric.
Yeah, and there isn't a massive like front end to it. For instance, this latest league. Oh god, this guy's right here.
I'd run Faji.
Yeah.
Too late. That's another thing to touch on. It's not an easy game. Like,
it's not.
You're only in Act 1 and you're getting beaten up by a mini boss.
Exactly.
But that's how I want it to be. Like, I don't want it to be a pushover. I don't want you to be able to sleep your way through the game.
Mm-hmm.
And only worry that you're going to die to some random on death effect that you can't see on the floor.
Yeah.
not pointing any fingers or calling anyone out.
And
Yeah, no, but yeah, in all seriousness, I do want it to be a tough game, and
guys, make
I'm
it nice
sure
again.
people are going to hate me for that. I'm sure people aren't going to like it, and that's fine. I have my target audience in mind, and as long as those people are enjoying the game.
Oh God, he's raining. He's raining hell on me. Well, and kind of what I was getting to on my point too, right? Is about the end game thing. Is I was just playing this current league of Path of Exile, and for someone, I'm just gonna pass this guy for the sake of story, and then beat my ass. But the problem here is, I have to spend so much time going through all of the acts, right? I have to spend so much time playing through the story, progressing the game again each and every time. And, you know, I've done it probably, under 10 times and I'm tired of it. I can't imagine people who are, doing this thing, each and every league multiple times. So having a game like this where it's like, hey, you know what? We're going to minimize the front end. We're going to get to the end game that way, because I'm not sure what you plan on doing post. But, if there is like a seasonal mechanic or if there is a league mechanic or something like that, then it's not going to be an absolute marathon that burns people out before they even get to the end.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I never want the campaign to take more than sort of like 4 or 5 hours, and that's even for someone who wants to, kill every enemy in the zone. They want to fully explore and do all the side quests and stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want it to take ages,
Yep.
because I go exactly like that in Path of Exile. Like some leagues, I would just feel so demotivated to play because I knew I was going to have to slog through the story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and once you've done a story or a campaign a few times, it's just not fun anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, no one plays. I mean, obviously there are some people, but the majority of people play ARPGs to see their build come together
Mm-hmm.
and like look at their creation basically. And you don't really see that start to happen until you reach endgame.
Yep.
Especially because ARPGs are so item centric. Like you might need that unique from endgame or that set from endgame before your build even makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So to force someone to play this sort of like janky, wonky, like crap, basically, for like 10, 15, 20 hours, it's just not fun.
Agreed.
Um, I know games are evolving and changing and stuff like that. In terms of like Path of Exile are addressing this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know like Last Epoch has their take on it. Vulkan's got their take on it. Everyone's got a different version, but I do feel sort of like ARPGs are a bit behind the times in terms of campaigns. Like in most other games, unless you're talking about strict RPGs like Witcher 3 or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
campaigns are sort of like a tutorial. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I would just like to see more sort of like fast paced. It seems weird to say. I suppose it's not fast-paced content because Path of Exile does have very fast-paced content when you reach endgame. I
Yeah.
think it's just that ramp up could be smoother.
Yeah. So there's a couple of questions in chat too, by the way.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know if you want to touch on those while I get
yeah.
my
So, will you
sheet.
allow multiple bosses to drop the same uniques just so you can choose what boss to farm as well? Yeah, definitely. At the moment, there's only I say only. There's two different types of endgame zone for the four main endgame modes, and then each of them has 3 tiers of difficulty. So there's already quite a lot of content in the game, I suppose, when you look at it like that. And then you've got Endless Abyss and Breach Zones and stuff like that as well. But um, I'm trying to make it so that I just item dump at the moment. Basically, I have an idea for my item, I make it, and I dump it into the game somewhere. It's probably not in the best place, and that place might change later on. Drop rates might change, all that sort of stuff. Um, but when we're later down the line in beta and stuff like that, you will see the same items cropping up in different places and stuff like that, just so you do have those different opportunities to gain the same items in different places. Um, that was another thing that I changed. I think it was like a month or two ago. Uniques and set items in the game, they have like a rarity now, and I've got a spreadsheet that people can like check out and stuff, so they can find where items drop, and what rarity they are and their drop chance and stuff like that. Whereas before, uniques and set items, they just had sort of like a static chance to drop. Now we're sort of like a tier one unique is like 1 in 10,000. A tier two is like 1 in 5,000. You know, that kind of thing. Um, I talked about this with Vulkan when I was playing demo, and it's a point I had some contention with. What's the motive behind environmental interaction, falling off the map, etc. Feels bad, I guess, personally speaking. Yeah, a lot of people didn't like that, so I have changed that. You can no longer fall off the map. Cliffs are now a safe zone. I mean, it makes no sense to me why an invisible force stops you falling off a cliff, but it's in there. You're safe.
It's you shall not pass.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die again. Oh god.
Makes me wonder why you should bother with a campaign then. Couldn't you do something like D3 adventure mode instead? Yeah, absolutely. The first expansion I do will have a sort of like adventure mode. Every expansion that I do, I'm going to do one every year post-release. And they'll all have a different method of leveling up or a different campaign.
What is this?
So one of them might be like just farming breach zones, one of them might be bounties or like quests or like even like an open world sort of section. And then like others will be sort of like a campaign like this where it's like structured with certain acts and stuff, but it'll be different to the one that you've experienced in the original game. So people coming back for leagues and events and races and stuff like that will have a different experience if they choose it.
Which is a cool thing too, by the way. I don't know if anybody had seen last time, but they actually hosted a race in Sanctum Breach not too long ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I plan on having different races and little events and stuff throughout pre-beta and beta and then even post-release as well. Just it's nice to have that sort of community, sort of like stuff going on.
Oh, for sure. Agreed. Oh, we switched this thing around, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. That's a bug.
I was like, it's throwing me a curveball right now. Enough stash space. I dig it. I dig it.
Yeah, I'm adding destructibles slowly to the world as well. They're only in Act 1 at the moment, but I will add them throughout the
Nice.
whole.
I'm down. Always down for destructibles.
Yeah, it's just a nice little thing, isn't it? Like walk
Yeah.
into something that inexplicably explodes, and then a shiny drops from it.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, right? I mean, it's that super low chance that like a legendary could drop or something,
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
what and that's what
You
really
haven't lived until you got an exalted orc from a barrel on
exactly
ledge.
exactly. Like I tell you, man, just even like even like just it goes all to my compulsive behavior of just like I have to check every single little thing, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's giving me nightmares missing out on stuff.
I had a really interesting sort of like interview a few weeks back with a guy. He was doing a video on sort of like compulsion and game design
Mm-hmm.
in ARPGs, and he just wanted the perspective of a game developer. So I was talking to him about that, and basically we were saying how his overall sort of like investigative topic was is gaming fun or is it a habit?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was talking to him and saying about how like a lot of what we do in ARPGs and how I approach design is I know that people love to collect items
Mm-hmm.
and they hold out spending 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, whatever, however many hours it takes to find that one amazing item, they'll sit there and they'll do the same content over and over again for that 1 in 10,000 chance that this awesome item dropping.
Yep.
And it's not fun until the moment that item drops. Then you have that split second sort of like release of endorphins in the brain, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm so happy, and then it's gone. And then for the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 hours, you're waiting for that release again, for that split second of happiness. And then it's just, it's like drug addiction, essentially, when you look at it from a chemical perspective.
Not wrong.
It's just, it's a really messed up topic to actually think about. But yeah, we won't go too far down that topic because people don't like to think about that. But
yeah, and I mean, I think you're right when it comes to that's chaos resistance. I think you're right because I mean, but at the same time, it's rewarding just like anything else is. If you're a gymnast and you finally hit that move, that thing you've been practicing towards, if you're a juggler and you're finally able to juggle something that you have always wanted to, I think it's just human nature too. And
yeah, definitely, it's not just in gaming, it's just life in general. But it's
full of surprises.
Yeah, it's a strange thing to sort of like think about and actually like associate with gaming and discuss and like sort of like consciously accept as well, I suppose, because it's something that people are aware of but they don't really discuss or think about.
You just described RuneScape. Absolutely.
Are there any plans to add in some more characterization, i.e. Zana or Ain here? I don't know how to say that. Are these notable personalities in Path of Exile? Yeah, definitely. Once I have the budget to do so, because NPCs are quite expensive on the marketplace. But once I've got the funds, I'll definitely be buying NPC packs and just adding them sporadically throughout the world, and having a lot more sort of like side quests and like these like quest chains that lead you down the rabbit hole, so to speak. And then there'll be endgame quests as well. So you'll have like, at the moment there's achievements like, I don't know, like kill 5 dragons, 10 dragons, 20 dragons, whatever. But there'll be endgame quests, so it'll get you to like do a series of things. So it'll be like kill the dragon, the wyvern, and the phoenix. It'll be like stages and parts of the quest, and they'll all come from NPCs. It's just part of making the world feel more alive.
So, one thing I was going to ask, so like looking at, and I'll pull it up here in a second once I'm not going to say safe, but once I'm safe. Just never. So right here it says, when your HP drops below 50%, you inflict all enemies with Delirium. It has 15-second cooldown. So what is Delirium?
So Delirium forces them to fight each other. Basically, in coding terms, it changes their tags from enemy to friendly.
Gotcha. Okay. So essentially like a confusion type of deal. Got it.
Yeah, that sort of
awesome
thing.
So if you were building your Warbringer, what would you focus on in terms of stats?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think at this stage, I want the game to, like during the campaign, I want it to be very much sort of like any skill, any combination within reason. Obviously, you can't be stacking mana on a skill that doesn't require mana. Like don't be dumb. But
yeah,
if you're being logical about it, then any combination of build will be able to see you through to endgame. That's always the idea. Like, yes, I want it to be difficult, but I don't want it to be impossible, and I want it to be balanced in the sense of like it's not just like a one button master skill, like master class.
yeah,
legendary. So with that in mind, I would say don't worry about it while you're leveling, and then when you reach endgame, I think I want it to be very much sort of like, especially if it's your first playthrough or like you're not, going for it hardcore, like target farming and all that sort of stuff. You're just playing the game for what it is at face value. It's very much sort of like solo self-found, build around what you find, like make it your best experience that you can out of what you've got.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of really like D2, like old school sort of approach to itemization and gearing and building.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I think build around, like do what you want in the campaign, build around what you've got in the end game would be my advice for
Gotcha.
any class really. Um, what I would love to see personally though is an earthquake focus build with all the different auras that you can get from items and from the passive trees. So you've
Mm-hmm.
got like this just like leap slam barb with like 5 different auras going on, like fire auras, cold auras, lightning auras. Um,
I I know there's gonna be somebody in chat. They're gonna be like, "I'm in."
yeah, everyone loves leaping around or spinning around, and
Yeah,
everyone loves auras. So
exactly.
have them
Challenging
all. I
scepter.
don't care. Go nuts.
Yeah. So,
Can you borrow my beard? Yeah. If you give me your address, I'll shave it off and I'll mail it to you.
perfect. Top end barter. So, another question. So, for the Warbringer, is there going to be any plans to use mana?
Yeah. So your earthquake and slam don't use any mana because I want there to always be a single target skill that you can use, and I want there to always be sort of like um a go in or go out sort of skill that you can use.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Warbringer as a class isn't really going to be as mana dependent as say like an elementalist, just like thematically, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, so my plan for some of the Warbringer skills is to use mana, but for others is to use health as a cost.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's something that I've messed around with a little bit on other classes, but it's something that I want to focus on quite a lot on Warbringer, especially in the class masteries.
Gotcha. And so, at what level are you going to get your class masteries?
Level 30.
Level 30.
Same as the other. Have you played the class masteries?
On the Hex Lord.
Ah, right, yeah. Yeah, it's level 30 for all the classes, and then you have 3 different choices. They're not in for the Warbringer at the moment yet. The release plan is to have 2 skills at a time till you've got your 8 base skills, and then I'll do 1 class mastery at a time as well.
Gotcha.
So it'll be a total of 7 patches in pre-beta. And this is the first patch at the moment. So,
Gotcha. Awesome. So after the Warbringer's in, what's the next one?
so there's Demonologist and Warden left, and they'll be coming in the beta. Um, I'll just do a poll on Discord to be honest for which one's next. Let the community decide what they want.
Gotcha. What does chat want to see next?
Summoner or a ranger,
Yeah.
bow and arrow or demons. I think it's probably the summoner.
Usually people love the summoner stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's been it's been pretty 50-50 when it comes to like last epoch, for instance. People have been really big on gotta have that bow and arrow, gotta have that ranger.
Yeah. Well, people are waiting for the rogue, aren't they, in the dual wielding?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Demon summoning better be big and scary.
yeah. Summoners are so bad for balance. Yeah, in general, I would agree with you, but I have a sort of like a unique take on the way I want to do the summoner. Um, so with the demonologist, it'd be kind of like a mixologist. So you've got like your cocktail of demons, and then you make some nice drinks with them. So you'll have your base class sort of like summons, so like your imps, your like your lesser demons, your skeletons, sort of like your grade sort of like D evil, and then um, you can mix them together. So you can like sort of like sacrifice or whatever word you want. You can combine them. So you can combine, say, like two imps and a zombie to create a succubus, which is like the next tier up. And then once you've got a succubus, you can combine it with like a, I don't know, like a hellhound to create like a demon lord or something like that. So by having these lesser summons and then moving your way up, you can create these like big sort of like abominations. And there'll be loads of different combinations that you can get into. So it'll really be sort of like it's down to you what you use and what you play with out of like this whole plethora of different combinations. Um, so in terms of bad balance, I assume you mean that you can just sort of like infinitely kite and stuff like that. Um, but one of the ways that I counter this is that enemies have an inherent focus on the player rather than summons. This is already in the game with like various different creatures that you can obtain through passives and items and stuff like that. But if they have a player that they can get to, then they will prefer to go for that player. And every time they attack, they'll have a chance to change their target and go for the. And it's always weighted in the favor of the player. So the longer you're in the fight, the more chance it has of coming after you.
Do you feel like that's going to invalidate pets? I mean, or
Um, no, because the way I view a summoner is that they're your source of damage. They shouldn't also be your source of health
mm-hmm,
because you have your own health, you have your own defensive stats.
mm-hmm,
Um, and I feel like that's a big problem with summoners, and that's why I agree that summoners are bad for balance in general in other games
mm-hmm,
because they not only do they become your source of damage, they also become your source of health and your source of defense as well. So
mm-hmm.
you've got this almost like double dip effect. Um, whereas I purely want them to be your damage, they're not your front line as well.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Yeah, because I know that was always a big thing. It's always interesting seeing how each kind of developer or studio or kind of however you want to approach it handles summoning. And the reason I say that is
Yeah.
because, I guide this guy, is because they either aren't done very well at all, they're overpowered, or they don't run in front of you. They don't, they're hard to manage AI wise. So it's been very interesting seeing
Yeah.
like, everybody
I'll
say
sorry,
everybody
go on.
say everybody really likes like Chronicon the way they handled um, pets, mostly because they run in front of you and they're more defensive than anything else.
Yeah, yeah. Some summons in the game are already like hyper aggressive. Um, they basically have the way that I set them up is that they search for enemies on your screen. So whatever you can visibly see, they will hunt and
Mm-hmm.
they'll run to that target and attack them like and they'll never back off unless you run really far away and then they'll try and run after you. Um, so yeah, the pets will be super aggressive. It's more in terms of the way the enemy will treat summons, in that they don't really care about them as much as they care about killing the player, because it's kind of like it's more like realistic, I suppose, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like they know that if they kill the player, then the summon's gone as well, if that makes sense. So they will focus the master rather than the minion.
Gotcha. That makes
But
sense.
yeah,
I like it.
the summons won't be lazy.
Good.
They're after blood.
That was it drove me nuts, man. Is like you summon this big army and they're like, "Hey, we'll just stick behind you. It's cool. You go first. We'll hang back. If
Yeah,
things get
yeah.
hairy, we'll
But
jump out."
yeah, there'd be none of that. No. They're out for the kill.
Yeah, exactly. They're out to actually help you.
Oh, yeah, because as a demonologist, you won't actually have a way to deal damage yourself. So you'll have to have your minions deal the damage. So
Interesting. So you have no direct damage.
no, it'll all be supportive and focused around your minions.
Gotcha. So, question for that then. um, are you going to have sort of like a debuff style system, so that way you're not kind of like twiddling your thumbs, right?
Yeah, it'd be very active. Like your summons won't have a lot of health either as well, so that when they die, you'll have to resummon them and stuff like that. And for a lot of them, especially as you move up to the bigger ones, you'll have to fuel your summons with your own health pool. So you'll need to find ways to counter that, be it health regen, that kind of thing. Like potion refills. You'll have to have some way of sustaining your health in order to sustain your summons.
Gotcha. I think that'd be
Um,
cool.
but yeah, there'll be plenty of like debuffs and stuff like that as well. Yeah, in terms of performance issues with summons, it shouldn't be a problem. I've done tests with summoning sort of like 50, 60 AI at once, and it doesn't really cause a hit to performance at all. The whole game in general is quite performance friendly. I want it to be a game that you can take with you and like play offline on a laptop and stuff like that while you're traveling or whatever. So I never really want it to be a heavy performance game. It's why the graphics sometimes suck, because I have better materials that I can use, but I just don't put them in because they require too much performance.
And Werecrab's got some brutal affixes.
Yeah, your kids can have Christmas presents. Mind you, my next day RPG is open world, full 8K graphics, so save your money for that one. Yeah, I mean, the game will be big, so you'll need a decent hard drive, so you might not be able to use a USB. Mind you, you can get like 1 terabyte USBs nowadays, so yeah, play it off a USB, go for it.
I'm gonna head back here and see
Oh,
if...
you're in where crap hell.
Oh yeah, exactly. I am, bro. I am super in Werecrab hell. I'm gonna see if I can't.
Have you got a new weapon?
No, that's why I'm back here. I'm gonna see if I can't get some iron to drop.
You can cheat if you want. There's in-game cheats.
I don't want to cheat.
I promote cheating. If you click on UI menus, I've added a character editor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, basically it's offline at the moment. There's no like ladder or challenges or anything like that. So I've, instead of people dicking about trying to hack it and use cheat injectors and all that sort of stuff, I just added one into the game.
Yeah, like, let me just
I
go
have no
ahead.
problem with people cheating and stuff.
Oh, okay. That's kind of cool. So you can just grab all this stuff.
Yeah. Obviously, when there's ladders and events and stuff like that, then
Yeah.
like you'll be
So just randomly spawn items.
hunted down if you cheat. But yeah,
You'll be...
when you're playing offline, it's fine. Go for it.
That's kind of cool. So can you just type in like...
Eventually, I'd like to support modding as well, like Grim Dawn.
Gotcha. That's awesome. No, I think that'd be really good. I mean, there's so many games that don't do that, that it's just... I feel like that's such a free way to like perpetuate your game. Like, give it so much more longevity. I mean, let the community do your work, let them help you out.
Yeah, like I can just sit on the beach, counting my
Exactly.
millions while people are making the game for me.
Exactly. So, Glancing Blow, is that similar to like the way Last Epoch handles it, where you can stack up to 100 and it's almost a required stat, or is that less impactful?
There'll never be a required stat in the game. Even like crit and stuff, I always want a stat to be an option and a good option, but never a requirement. It's no spaces.
No spaces. Got
If
it.
you're
Do I need to put the
trying
crusher
to,
too, like this?
yeah, take away the space and then put the crusher too.
Gotcha. No spaces, but in parentheses.
No, just the
The
crusher too.
All right.
I'll type it in chat.
Let's give it a shot. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh, there it is. Yep.
You got it?
Yep. Nice.
Stream delay in there.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, if you press C and go into character stats, you can find all the stats and hover over them, and that tells you what they do and stuff.
Yeah. Let's see what the Crusher 2 has in store for us.
The stream delay's massive. I haven't even seen it yet.
Oh God, really?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I'm watching. Oh yeah, I can see it.
It's weird, isn't it? Like when you're talking and then you're actually watching the stream as well.
It is. Yeah, it's. Believe me, I'm looking. I'm like, oh wow, they're way behind.
You're living in the past.
Exactly, man. I swear. Let's see.
Yeah, it's such a massive jump in weapon damage, so it's really important to keep your weapon up to date, because especially as like a melee character on the Warbringer, all your damage comes from
weapon.
From your weapon.
All right. So, is there going to be an offhand for this slot, or I know we talked about dual wielding, but I just didn't know if there was going to be like maybe a trinket or something.
No. So with the passive isn't updated at the moment, but in my build, in my version, you can only wield one weapon, and you have to make it. You have to choose between a one-hander or a two-hander, but you're only allowed one. But to compensate for the fact you're only allowed one weapon, you get bonus weapon damage per level.
Gotcha.
It will help smooth out the issue that you ran into as well, where your weapon fell behind, so your damage fell behind. By gaining bonus weapon damage every level, it sort of like ensures that you remain at least somewhat current in terms of your damage.
Gotcha. Okay. Spawn Flameworks Crusher.
Seconds.
Oh God. Okay. Oh hell yeah! All right. Let's go blow things up.
But yeah, C has all the different character stats, because I know you said about glancing blow. So with glancing blow, I'm pretty sure the way it works is that it reduces incoming damage by 50%, but I can't remember if it's before or after other modifiers. But it'll say in the character stats anyway, and make sure it's all sort of like, if you hover over the stat, it tells you exactly what it does.
Let's see. Yeah, the chance of reducing incoming damage by 50% before other modifiers such as defense. So cool. That first, then defense, and then resistances.
Yeah, so I want like these defensive stats like dodge and glancing blow and block and stuff. I want them to be good.
Yeah.
But, I don't want it to be sort of like, if you don't have these stats, you're going to get one shot.
Yeah.
Obviously you will if you're doing content that's like way beyond your capabilities, or you don't dodge like the massive explosion that's coming your way. But
yeah,
in terms of like blow by blow, as it were, I don't want any stat to be a required stat. Like you shouldn't have to have crit in order to deal damage, you know, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. So
yeah, Chris Wilson loves one shots. Yeah, they're really fun. Mm-hmm.
They're a blast. I love them.
Yeah, dying to bearers after I've been playing for 30 hours. Yeah, it just makes my day. I go to bed because I'm so happy.
Exactly. You're just amped up, man. You're just amped up. So what's next? What's coming after this?
In terms of Warbringer, or
both? Warbringer and Sanctum.
For the next patch, it's going to be Cyclone and another skill. I haven't decided which one yet. maybe like a cleave or a lacerate, so like a sort of like a bleeding sort of skill, so you can like damage over time, sort of stuff. And then beyond that, I just want to get the game really polished, the Warbringer out, and then we can move into beta. I've got a whole roadmap for beta, but the crux of beta is getting the Warden and the Demonologist in, all the skill trees in the game revamped, add in pinnacle nodes to all the skill trees as well, and skill trees for all the mastery skills. So just skill trees everywhere.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, just shitloads of endgame content, shitloads of items, and then calling it a day, really. It's just adding more content at that point, basically. Obviously, the other big thing that I've got left to do is leaderboards and multiplayer. But that isn't something that's going to happen until I'm really confident and comfortable with the state of the game in terms of like each individual playthrough, the balance, skill by skill balance, class by class balance. Yeah, basically when I feel the game is good, and not say that it's bad now, but when I can look at it and think, yeah, this is a game I'm proud of, I won't introduce leaderboards or multiplayer, because I feel like those are things that should come to the game when the playing field is even and it's fair. And until you establish that sort of like that nice arena in which you can play, it's just sort of like you feel cheated.
Yep.
Then
No,
on to Sanctum Breach 2, right?
exactly.
So I can talk about these plans. Like I do have plans for post release. So the idea is that I will release an expansion every year, and I'll work on that expansion for 6 months of the year. And the other 6 months of the year, I'm going to be working on an open world ARPG, based in the Vikings era, and you'll play as a wanderer. So you'll go around completing quests, and the whole world will revolve around you and your experience, and you'll actually be a god in disguise. So you'll pick your god in the character select, so to speak, but it won't have a physical appearance. It will just change your skills and your skill trees and stuff. Yeah, it'd be nothing like Walls of Midgard. I played that. It'll be more kind of like an MMO. So yeah, it'd be good instead, hopefully. Yeah, it'd be more like an MMO and real sort of like RPG driven. It'll be third person as well, not isometric, so that'd be quite a change of pace for most ARPG players. And the classes will be more sort of like MOBA centric as well. So it'll be a case of you get all your skills up front, and then you choose which ones you want to level up and in which order and stuff like that. So the gameplay will be very sort of like not easy, but it'll be all handed to you up front, and then you can do with it as you please. So yeah, but that's a long way off. I've only started putting the bare bones of that together. In terms of Sanctum Breach, there'll be post-release. There'll be obviously the yearly expansion, but there'll be events and stuff running throughout the year as well. Kind of like leagues in Path of Exile, but a bit shorter. So there'll be sort of like 1 month, maybe 2 month. But I feel like these 3-4 month leagues are a bit too long. People get bored. And then in between that, there'll be sort of like races and stuff like that as well. But they'll all be like asynchronous, so it won't be a case of like who can log on at 3 in the morning and speed race. It'll be who is actually the better player. They'll last for like a week, and you can have multiple attempts and stuff like that, so RNG can't screw you over. So yeah, that's post-release plans. Just waiting for all the when's trading coming and what about seasons. Seasons, yeah, trading though. The trouble with trading is that if you have um if you have trading and sort of like that player to player economy, it means that you have to modify the way in which the game plays. You have to reduce drop rates drastically, because otherwise the market will just be flooded with all these amazing items and they'll lose any semblance of value. But that means that the average player will never be able to find items that they actually want to use because all they're going to find is crap. Um, so I'd rather keep it so that when you're playing, you're actually finding stuff that you want to use rather than just finding something you can sell for one chaos to bob down the road, and then eventually you can buy a nice shiny item.
Me.
Yeah, even with multiplayer in the game, it'll always be solo self-found in that respect.
I might. Oh, let's kill Gra here.
How are you finding the Warbringer so far? Any feedback for me?
I like it. It's definitely it's forcing me in particular to play a little bit different. Just because I always get so much shit for it. Because I always play like some sort of a ranged character or like a fast character. So
Yeah.
this is definitely putting me outside my comfort zone, which is good. But I like it so far, and I think the skills and what you have here are interesting. I think they're engaging. So like, just kind of show folks what I've taken. Health on hit up into enemies hit by the spikes are caged in bone, receive additional fizz. And then I took iron skin on hit, and it caused an explosion of spikes around you. So, like when I use this ability, these spikes that pop up around me aren't normal. It's usually just these ones that are in a straight line. So give myself a little more AoE. And then with Earthquake, I plan on taking this one. Tsunami of Earth hits them and roots them. So, and then eventually move down here to Maim. So that's kind of what I'm going for. But I'm really interested to see what other skills there are too. But I think what I might do is level up so we can look at some end game stuff too.
Yeah, I've added new endgame content since you played. So.
That way, we can kind of show off both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And like because the skill trees are so big as well now, like you've got the same skills and you go like different direction with it, take different major nodes, and you've got a completely different build on your hands. So
absolutely,
it's yeah, I think it's very sort of like it's a good step to take. It's a lot more work, but I think it's worth it.
So, what was I gonna say? Cannot remember. It's about in game. It's about in game.
About end game.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll do 65. There.
Sorry, I was just going to say, just be aware that you will be a bit weaker than if you had leveled up normally, because obviously your skills will still be a lower level.
Exactly, yeah.
And you gain quite a lot of base damage with each level to a skill.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there any way to level those up?
No, you have to do them yourself, unfortunately.
Damn it, you spoiled me. That's okay. I was gonna ask, is there any particular like set or end game item that you're really proud of that you want to kind of like go through and show?
Annihilation is a fun one.
Annihilation?
Yeah.
Okay. jump through and we'll do that one. What is Annihilation?
I'll let you spawn in and see for yourself.
Okay.
I think you'll like it. It's very visually pleasing.
Alright, let's see.
I was gonna say, don't forget to spend your passive tree points.
Yes.
People love a big ginger beard, don't they?
Let's see. I don't know if I can grab it. Let's try it again.
It's the only trouble with having so much choice in the game, isn't it? There's a lot of sort of like, where do I go? What do I click on?
So, looks like it's spawning in, but I can't grab it.
Get the spreadsheet up because I think you might be spelling it.
ANNI, Annihilation.
Let me find it.
I went to public school, so we'll see if my spelling's good. Let's see. Oh yeah, I spelled it right.
I got it wrong. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, ANNIHILATION. Annihilation. Or is it annihilate? I mean, because it looks like it's spawning in.
Is it pink when it spawns in? Or is it white?
It's white.
Yeah, it hasn't spawned in correctly then.
Mm.
So I've got you the link here. I'll just send it over in a second.
Mm. There it is.
Did I spell it wrong? You found a bug?
I did.
Oh no.
Oh no. Please no.
I'll add it to the list.
Alpha
Yeah,
with
there's
the
a spreadsheet if you want to just spawn in some random items.
Love it. Oh god. Okay, so you have a 50% chance to cast a level 5 meteor on crit. Crit chance, crit damage, fire damage, area of effect, and increased speed. Yes, please. Hell yeah.
So yeah, that's just an example of a cast on crit item.
That is awesome. I love it. I love
But yeah,
it.
if you want to take a look at that spreadsheet, that's all the items that are in the game at the moment. You know, like in-game items.
Yeah. Did you toss it into Discord?
Yeah, in the private chat thing, you know.
Gotcha. Get you back up here. All right. Are these all for Warbringer?
No, this is just a general sort of item list of items that are in the game at the moment.
Awesome.
Some would be better than others. But yeah, I can't really think of any off the top of my head that would be good for you at the moment. It's really hard to remember every single item that's in the game and stuff. Like it's like once I make them, they just sort of like go out of my head.
I bet it is. Let's see. Live by the flame, die by the flame. What is this?
So yeah, I would suggest just spawning a bunch in and seeing what you can find.
Let's see.
Thunder Point is a cool weapon, but I don't know if it would be any good for you.
Thunderpoint?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm down. Let's see.
You can see in the item list which ones are going to be strong because they'll be like tier 1 or tier 2. They might not be good for your class and your build, but they'll be strong in terms of like stats or the effect that they give at least.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, look at this. That's badass.
Just whether or not you can use them.
300 weapon damage. That's crazy. Jeez. Let's do it. All right. That live by the flame, die by the flame is pretty cool. I like that too.
Yeah, I tried to keep item design somewhat interesting.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. Especially, I mean, if you build around certain things, right? Like obviously lightning damage. You have Thunder Point. That's going to be crazy. I don't know if there's an internal cooldown on that or not, but that would just be wild.
Yeah, I try to avoid internal cooldowns, but I normally specify if there is one.
I like it.
So if it doesn't say that there's an internal cooldown, then there probably isn't.
I dig it. So okay, let's like do like Lightning's Wrath, and we can do like a Thunder build here. It just seems like, you know, if you manage to get a lot of these different things all put together, that it's just going to be just wild, some of the stuff that you're going to be able to do.
Yeah, I really I think when you start stacking, you know, like on hit effects and set items and the passive trees and all these things just coming together to create sort of like the perfect storm, I think that's when ARPGs are their most fun.
Oh, for sure.
Just when you go from this like sort of like crappy sort of like person just like whacking them with a stick or like casting a puny little lightning bolt to this sort of like god with like your firestorms and your lightning aura and your massive hammer and just like you've got everything going off at once. I think
Absolutely.
that's like the true sort of like ARPG spirit, so to speak. That sort of like rags to riches kind of thing.
And I think that's exactly what, you know, that's exactly what I think some of the other like indie games do really well. Is it seems like there's so many things that are built in to they're built in to kind of hamper you. You know, they're built in to kind of hold you back a little bit. Like, oh well, you know, you can't equip this and this at the same time because that's going to make you too powerful. And it just blow the lid off, man. Take the lid off. Let it be fun. Let people just blow stuff up.
It reminds me of I spoke about briefly that interview I done a few weeks back with that guy who was looking into game design and stuff.
Yeah.
But he said to me, if I had one piece of advice for other game designers, what would it be? And I said, make broken items because people love broken shit. Like,
oh yeah.
it doesn't. People will remember a game more for having a really fun broken item. Like, look at Headhunter.
Yeah.
It's broken. Like everyone knows it, but people love it. People don't say to GGG. There's not posts on the forums. There's not Reddit rants being like nerf Headhunter, nerf it, nerf it, nerf it. Everyone's like, can we get this item, please?
Exactly.
Because they want to play with it because it's fun. Like I think people get so bogged down these days with the idea of balance and competitiveness. They forget that you're meant to be playing a game because it's fun.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Hit the nail on the head.
Find broken items, go nuts. I don't care. One shot that boss.
Exactly.
I want to see it. Send me a video.
Yeah, exactly. Have fun.
Yeah, I think having chase items is definitely a good thing. I'm not necessarily saying these items should be easy to obtain. I'm just saying they should be in the game.
go through.
I think Last Epoch is a really good example of sort of like erring on the side of caution when it comes to adding items.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like most of their uniques and their set items, they're very reserved, and I don't feel like they deserve the title that they're given. They're meant to be these sort of like godly items. They're the best items in the game, and I just don't get that level of satisfaction when I find items in Last Epoch. I mean, it's a great game, obviously. I'm not like dissing them or anything. I just think that's something that they could improve on.
Oh, for sure. And that's one of the things that, you know, I really want them to take a step back to, like, almost fell off there. Kind of what you were talking about is, you know, when I see a unique drop or a set item drop or a legendary item drop, I want that to be like fun and exciting. I don't want it to be like, oh, this is just a stat stick, or, you know, oh, this dropped and it's not going to improve my build. It's not going to have really any sort of effect on my gameplay, because that's a mismatch to rarity to value. I think anything that is elevated above, you know, legendary or epic or however you want to go, purple, right, status,
Yeah.
that's when, you know, things should be interesting. You should be able to build around those pieces, or they should just be, you know, overpowered or just fun. And I think people miss the fun. Can't wait for that game to be finished.
I think I'm pretty sure it was Rory from GGG who said this like years and years ago now. But he said when he gets reports of skills not being good,
Mm-hmm.
he always looks at the visual element first, because 9 times out of 10, when people feel like a skill is underperforming, it's just visually underwhelming.
Yeah.
Because it's always the visuals, especially when you don't have damage numbers on the screen and stuff like that. It's always the visuals that give you the clue as to how impactful you feel. Um, and I think it should be the same with item design. I feel like if you've got that item that's super rare and it's meant to be like this god tier item, it should have this big sort of visual impact.
Mm-hmm.
In the game. It shouldn't, like you said, it shouldn't just be a stat stick. It should be an item that really changes something about your gameplay. It shouldn't just be an opportunity to push to the next level of content. It should also be like, that's what it is in its sort of like essence, and that's what it is at its core. But I feel like visually and sort of like almost like holistically, the item should be a means to looking good as well, like visually upgrading your character, not just stat upgrading your character.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Yeah, Alpha, you beat me to it. I was actually looking for that that thing on there, the Sanctum. Damage is gonna be like super low, just like Evar said, but we'll get these things leveled up.
Can you play an RF typish character? Yeah. There's loads of aura sort of builds in the game at the moment. On the passive tree and with items. Yeah, I love auras, so you can stack like 4 or 5 different auras on one character if you want. Sanctum Sanctorum, are you Doctor Strange fan? Yeah, I love Marvel. It fits anyway, the game's Sanctum Breach, because obviously Sanctum is Latin for home, and it's about your home being invaded, basically. There's not really too many story elements in the game at the moment. I do have the story all worked out, it's just I haven't had the means to convey the story properly yet. So Sanctum Sanctorum kind of fits with that as well. Really agree. In Torchlight 3, there's a few AoE skills that hit enemies and hurt them, but they don't touch breakables, making it feel very bad damage. Yeah, exactly. Like, if you've got like an aura going off and it's killing all the enemies, but it's not breaking this stupid little box that you're walking past, then it just doesn't feel good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you're playing like an aura build, or you've got a massive lightning storm following you or something like that, it should be environmental as well. It shouldn't just be a case of like it deals damage to this little hitbox. It should like the world should feel alive with the skills that you use. And obviously that's easier in some cases than others, but I think every effort should be made to make that happen.
It'll make the world feel a little bit more alive, more real.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
think RF is a more specific thing than ours, though. I assume Naomi 105 means the skill that hurts the players hurt the enemies. Yeah, yeah, I don't think I've got a self-damaging aura in the game at the moment. There might be one. I'm just not sure. But yeah, it's definitely a mechanic that I like and will use at some point. I'm just not sure if I've used it yet. And things haven't budged me for that. Oh, I don't like damage myself. I like when stuff dies around me in an AoE way. Yeah, yeah, you're covered then. There's plenty of AoE skills, like auras.
Hex Lord. Hex
Yeah,
Lord is my
Hexor.
jam.
Yeah, Spellblade has some as well, but it's from like notables where you can change skills into auras and stuff like that. And then obviously on the offensive passive tree, there's at least 3 auras that I can remember. Like in that single target damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Cool.
you've got good items and stuff. You just need to level your skills up a bit.
Oh yeah, no for sure. I swapped over to Stormpain. I want to check this thing out. We have a 25% chance to cast a level 10 Rolling Thunder on a non-crit.
Yeah.
Since my crit
What's your
sucks.
crit chance?
Not great.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you get these builds really rolling with like some high crit chance, it's just like a visual
13%.
niceness.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like I say, I hate internal cooldowns and stuff like that. I just feel it's really cheap. Like I hate, like absolutely detest it. In Diablo 3,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever experienced this. You get really excited about a unique item. You're like, oh, I'm going to make a whole build around this. It's going to be awesome.
Mhm.
But what they don't tell you is that it's got like a 30-second internal cooldown. And
Yes.
you put it all together and you're just like, why isn't this working? And then you
Exactly.
realize.
It's terrible too. And that's the thing. Oh my god. Yeah. We share that. We share that hatred for eternal cooldowns. They bother the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's really infuriating.
So it just goes back into that power fantasy, you know.
Yeah. Oh, it's on non-crit.
Yeah, it's a
the
non-crit.
rolling
Yeah. So
cool.
that's why I was like, nice. My crit chance is not overly great. So unless this item has a ton of crit on it, which didn't look like, but.
So what does internal cooldown do? So an internal cooldown is basically something that is hidden from the player. But say for example, I create an item that I don't know, casts a fireball every. No, actually, that doesn't work. It casts a fireball on hit, right? So every time you hit an enemy, you're meant to cast a fireball. So you come up with this amazing build where you're hitting enemies 10 times every second, so you should have 10 fireballs. However, if it has an internal cooldown, in the code it will say that it can't happen more than once every, say, for example, 3 seconds. So where you should be getting 10 fireballs every second, you're actually only getting 1 fireball every 3 seconds because the internal cooldown is proccing and then preventing it from happening again. Basically, and that information isn't conveyed to the player either. It's all sort of like hidden code. So yeah, it's just really sort of like a cheap way to make an item look cool, but ultimately it sucks.
I wonder if these hits, or if the projectiles are arcing over. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, you've created a nuts build. I love it.
I love it. Let's see. I don't know if I have any more points. Not yet.
See, this is something that I tried to do as well, because like on paper this build sounds amazing because you've got these you've got these meteors proccing, you've got this like lightning sort of like train thing
Mm-hmm.
proccing as well. But in practice, because of the way enemies position themselves and the way skills move you around the map, it's not just like a case of like every skill is static. Animations actually move you with the skill as well. So the actual like effectiveness of the build decreases because you can't actually land all of these hits onto every enemy. So that's kind of like a way that I approach balance. I want you to feel like this explosive, amazing character that's got all these visual effects going on. However, you need to sort of like factor in that not every component of your damage is going to be hitting every single enemy that's on your screen at once, because it's kind of like I want it to be more sort of like organic and natural. It's chaotic. The fight is like it's chaos, not and when you have such a chaotic sort of fight, not every component of your damage is going to find its mark, so to speak. Yeah,
Agreed.
I went on a bit of a tangent there. It just when I saw the screen, it just made me think about it, and I thought it's something that most ARPGs don't do. Like most ARPGs, it's a case of like your paper DPS is going to be your in-game, like your realistic combat DPS as well. Whereas I really want to avoid that. I want it to be more organic.
I like it. And I know this is something you've talked about multiple times before, but like this guy's immune to chaos damage.
Yeah.
So
And physical damage.
Yeah.
Because of the conquest mod.
So if you have like a a pure fizz or a pure chaos build, you're gonna struggle.
Yeah, but through passives and skill trees and class masteries and items, I really go out of my way to make it so that you're going to be a multi-element build. You have to try really hard to stick to one element when you're in endgame and you got all your items going on and stuff. But the flip side is that when you do focus on that one element and you hone every single item and every single passive, just tunnel everything into this single element, this single skill, you will be a monster. But you're going to have a lot of downsides, so you need to play around that, and that's another reason why I want so much content. I want people to be able to create a god tier character, but this god tier character is always going to have downsides. I feel like, again, that's something that a lot of ARPGs don't really explore. They make it so that when you've made a god tier character, your god tier character across the board, nothing can touch you, and you just steamroll over any and all content in the game. Whereas I think it's more fun to make it so that there's always a challenge out there. You're never the ultimate hunter in the realm. You're never the apex predator.
No, and I think that's a really good approach to it. I mean, it's because people get so bored. They get so bored.
Yeah, definitely. I think once you've got nothing left to chase, what's the point in doing anything? I think it's the same with life, really. Like, people set themselves long-term goals and stuff because it's good to have something to chase. It's good to have something to work towards. When you don't have that in your life, it loses meaning, it loses value.
Exactly. You get stagnant. Stagnant's not fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's like people say, don't they? Like, if you work for something and you earn something through hard work, it's a lot more rewarding than having it given to you.
Exactly. 1,000%.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well from chat. And that's something, again, that I've designed the game around. It's good to have one character to do one piece of content, another character to do another piece of content, and then you can share those items between your characters. So this whole sort of like arsenal of characters working together towards this ultimate goal of making each character as good as it can be.
I'm just crushing it.
How do you feel now that you've got all these different items and passive effects going on? Does it feel like your character's completely transformed from how it was when you were leveling?
Oh, definitely.
Even though you have the same skills?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just kind of imagining, like, okay, once once the skills get leveled up, right, and they can kind of match with everything else, plus just on top of everything else that I have, you know, it's gonna be nuts. You know, I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be really it's gonna be pretty wild to create, like, especially like an earthquake build like you were talking about. I mean, just stacking up some of those things that deal a lot of AoE damage and then have a chance to proc off of AoE. You know, Earthquake has that kind of dot that ticks, which is triggering a lot of these Rolling Thunder procs, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. Because obviously, like you think about that as well. Because like it's a case of every instance of damage has a chance to apply these effects. So because you're using your earthquake and it's got a tick, as you say, you've got an increased chance to proc these effects that's not reliant upon fast attack speed because it's a set tick. So yeah, it's a good way to approach building characters and stuff. So. And it just adds another layer of interest to when you're designing builds, I suppose.
Is there I've never killed the baby griffins before the mob. Is there anything that happens if you do that?
No, so the baby griffins are scared and they run away, but they drop loot. So if you're bloodthirsty, you go after them, and if you're extra bloodthirsty, you kill them in front of their mum. But
I was like, I wonder if there's like an enrage mechanic or something. Like if you kill them, then
you're just taunting her, basically.
you're just being that guy. Like...
Yeah. You've taken it from a harmless video game to sort of like a masochist,
a personal level.
Like
I don't know what this mother griffin did to me, but I'm gonna make her pay.
Yeah.
So one thing on your Cyclone ability that's coming, right? That I know, I've seen it done a couple different ways. Will attack speed influence tick rate?
Yeah. So the way that every skill works in the game, in terms of ones that rely on an animation, if you have increased speed, it makes the animation play faster. So in the case of Cyclone, you'll have it's always going to be 5 spins, and I think the base cast time is like 2.7 seconds or something, so it's like quick math, like 0.5 seconds per spin. Now if you have like 100% increased speed and you get that cast time down to like 2 seconds or something, then it becomes like 0.4 seconds per spin. So yes, it'll make you faster, but it'll be sort of like a linear sort of progression rather than jumping from sort of like you're spinning super slowly to Path of Exile speed and like you've attacked 10 times in 1 second.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because that was one of the things. There you go. I'll let you dive into Alpha's question really quick.
Let's say I get 700% increased speed, doesn't mean travel the same distance as 100% increased speed. Yeah, the distance is set, but you can increase the distance artificially, I suppose, through passive trees and stuff like that, and movement speed. But in terms of the animation, it has a fixed distance that the animation travels. So whether you're doing that animation in 1 second or 5 seconds, you're going to travel the same distance. Obviously, the difference is that if you can cast very quickly, then you can cast the same skill multiple times. So you'll travel more distance in the same amount of time if you've got increased speed. But per cast, the distance traveled would be the same. Struggling to hit those baby griffins. Did you manage to get them all?
Not all of them. Not all of them. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna head out so I can grab something different. I'm not sure if these are leveling up.
If what leveling up? The skills?
Yes.
Do you want to open your skill tree?
Yep.
Might should be a bug. Current level 4, current level 1. Oh yeah, it's not leveling up. Oh, I'll add that as a bug report.
Yeah.
Then.
I was like, I feel like I should have. I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna try respecking, like Earthquake, and I'm gonna see if it starts gaining after that.
I don't think it will. I might have just forgot to. I reported that earlier this stream. Oh, well, I've been on the stream. I haven't been on Discord, have I? I'll get it fixed tomorrow. No worries.
Hey, no worries. We're here having a good time. We're just having fun.
You've got your own hit effects. You don't need base.
Exactly. I don't need damage.
I am damage.
Exactly. I am damage incarnate. Let's go. No, I really dig this build though. Like, I think, you know, especially that live by the flame, die by the flame duo. I think that would be really, really cool to build around. Just because that's just massive explosions.
When beta will start 2021. Yeah, it'll be 2021 at this point. Probably Q1, maybe Q2. I'll aim for Q1 though.
Let's see. Yeah. But like we said, we don't need that. What do we get? Anything exciting? Still have my trusty iron helm. Here's a steel.
Is that not a good unique helmet you can take? I'll have a look on the list. You could get a Fire Lord's mask.
Let's do it. Ooh, and that's a good question from Naomi. So, was there a mechanic or something that was really annoying for you to design or balance?
Oh yeah, we'll be here all day if we go down that rabbit hole. There's been loads of things, to be honest. Something that stands out though.
Vampire, rage, cheetah.
I think skill trees can be quite challenging because when I create a skill, I've kind of like avoided doing this now, but especially in the early days, when I created a skill, I sort of created it as its own entity and as a sort of a complete entity as well. Whereas now I have to, when I'm creating the Warbringer skills, I know that I'm going to need 8 major nodes for that skill, so I need 8 different ways that I can modify that one skill and make those modifications feel impactful. So it can't just be a generic sort of like you now deal 10% more damage. You know, it has to be something cool, like you make enemies bleed, you root them, you cast a firestorm on your location, like if you create, you know, that kind of thing. So I think from a design perspective, that's definitely I wouldn't say an annoying thing, but it's a hard thing to do, to make a base skill that has enough sort of like variables that you can create 8 interesting ways to branch off of that one base skill. In terms of balance,
where do I begin?
yeah, it's kind of like it's this holistic sort of like approach to balance, I would say, is the most difficult thing. It's kind of like I need to constantly, like daily, remind myself that if people are having fun and there's some challenge left in the game, but they can also complete the game, which sounds really weird, but it makes sense from a design perspective. As long as the game is in that state, then the balancing job is done. Because it's not online, it's not competitive and stuff like that, I don't necessarily need to hyper focus on balance, because I would say the metric for balance in my eyes is whether or not the player's having fun. If the player's having fun, the game is balanced. If they're not having fun, the game isn't balanced. That's kind of the way that I try and look at it.
Sam, what do we got? What do we got here? Looks like us did this wyvern. It looks like he summoned an army of disciples.
Yeah, he's got some bros to help him.
Gotcha. They're all just kind of chilling. They must not liked him very much, because they're just like, "Yo, bro, just kill him."
It's not working very well at the moment.
It's our march now.
I need to make them a bit more angry.
More aggressive. I love it.
Because I mean, if they were angry, you'd be in trouble.
Oh, I know. I believe me. I saw them. They were just posted up, just waiting.
Yeah, it's kind of like you started a gang war, and they're getting ready. They're looking at you from their turf, and like
Exactly. I'm just
you're in
waiting.
trouble now. Yeah, just run, just leave.
Yeah, I bolted.
You don't want any of that
I
action.
don't. I don't. That's turf wars I don't want to get part of. So it looks like we got normal, brutal, nightmare, hell, and inferno difficulties.
Yeah, yeah. So starts off at tier 1, goes up to tier 10.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
There's currently tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 in the game at the moment. Um, and
Oof.
tier 10, I don't expect many people to complete. Um, I'll get to that sort of stage, sort of like mid beta, end of beta. But yeah, that's like the pinnacle of content. Obviously, you've got the endless abyss as well, where you can push indefinitely. But in terms of like standard content, tier 10 will be an inferno, and it'll be hard stuff. What
So
max level be 99? Yeah, 99, like Diablo 2. And
nice.
it'll be hard to get to as well. I want it to be a real grind. Again, it's not something that I expect people to reach.
Yeah, I know Alpha. Like I saw that and I was like, cool, man. Physical immune mirror blade, exciting. Oh god.
Some of these new endgame zones might not be the best showcase for balance
Yeah.
yet, because I haven't really had the opportunity to play around with them too much.
Still, this type of stuff's like super fun though. I mean, just like, all right, cool. Well, my entire build's focused on. I'm a Warbringer, right? So heavy fizz. And
Yeah,
this dude's basically my kryptonite, man. I mean,
exactly, and I think that's good as well, because now you know that this sort of like zone is off limits to this particular character. But what I try and do as well is I make it so that um, because each enemy in endgame content, be it bosses or be it regular enemies, they each have sort of like an item that they drop.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I tend to make it so that, say for example, this mirror blade is immune to physical damage. Chances are he's going to drop an item that's good for physical characters, because I want to promote that sort of like, you need that wealth of characters sharing items in order to be really effective in the game. So the idea is that you would create a character that was good for dealing with this particular encounter in order to get that chase item from him, and then give it over to your Warbringer, and then in turn your Warbringer can do some other content that your other character can't do, and then you can sort of like trade gear back and forth.
Yeah, it really
Or
promotes diversity, which is good.
yeah, exactly. Or alternatively, you can find a way to beat this class as a Warbringer, and beat this encounter as a Warbringer, and sort of like circumvent the restrictions of your class, in like, interesting sort of build mechanic ways.
And it'd be very
You can,
interesting to see like challenges like that. So, for instance, when Wilson was out, one of the things that we did was, um, can you beat a um, God, what was it? Like a one? I think it was like a one. Was it cap 182? I can't remember, but I think it was 182. But beat 182 without using like the OP bleeding edge skill, and it had to have these certain things. But it'd be really cool to see like a competition of, okay,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I love community stuff like that. Like I play in Jake ID Damage, another streamer. He hasn't hosted any recently, but he was hosting community events for Last Epoch, where it
mm-hmm,
was like you had to play with certain skills on certain classes, and you could see who could get the furthest.
mm-hmm,
Like stuff like that's really fun to do. So yeah,
absolutely.
I'm all for facilitating that as a game developer.
I think it makes the game, it improves the longevity.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's just really fun to have stuff like that as well. Like not just from a player perspective, but from a dev perspective as well. Like I'd love to watch like people stream challenges and stuff like that.
Exactly. I dig it.
You looking for new items?
I was checking out some other stuff just so we can, because we've kind of showed off like a thundery type of build, and I was gonna switch over and do like a fire type of build to see what we got there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what fire items I've got in the game. I normally give items sort of like names that somewhat match. So like Firelord's Mask is probably fire based, Inferno's Wake is probably fire based, Viper's Flame fire based, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I try and make it easy
You do
in the
good.
naming conventions.
You do good.
Also, it gets bloody hard to come up with all these like names for all these items and these passives and these skills and stuff. Like, there's always so many words in the dictionary. I run out.
Dude, I bet. I bet. Is there anything in particular chat wants to see? Any sort of like damage type or anything?
There's some really cool poison items in the game. Like damage over time items.
Yeah. That's what Naomi was just asking. Is there a dot build? I love when monsters are chasing but they die.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of dot builds that you can do. If you grab, let me get my list.
That was one of the things I really see. I'm the same boat, Naomi. I really like those type of builds. So when it came to a build with like the Hex Lord, solid poison is amazing.
Yeah, Hexlord focuses on poison. There's an item called Adder's Bite. Their gloves, it's number 8 in the data table.
Let's see. Adder's Bite. Boom. Ooh.
And then if you look to get, I think it's Viper's Flame.
I did grab Viper's Flame. Where was that?
I think that's a damage over time item as well.
Yep. And it has a 20% chance to deal the same damage as fire damage. So you could do Viper's Flame with Annihilation.
What was Adder's Bite? I think I might have changed Adder's Bite actually.
Poison damage applies poison on hit.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so that's the damage over time build.
Yes, let's do it.
So you'll be applying poison with your Earthquake 6.
Let's do it. I'm all in. Okay, cool.
So yeah, I wanted like cool sort of like cross damage type interactions as well. So like if you can find a way to hit fast, you can stack a bunch of like poisons with Adder's Bite.
And so here's a question.
Yeah.
Is poison damage chaos damage?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Did you say it's poison damage, chaos damage?
Yes.
Poison's poison.
Poison's poison.
Okay. Yeah, chaos has curse, which is chaos damage over time, and delirium, which is the defensive counterpart for chaos. Each damage type has an offensive ailment and a defensive ailment.
Gotcha. Okay. The reason I was asking was because they're all immune to chaos damage. I know, like in PoE, for instance, it's chaos is poison, and vice versa.
Yeah, no. I try to make it so that enemies are sort of like evenly immune and resistant to damage types. It's not a case of like in Path of Exile where everyone's immune to chaos damage.
I like it.
It's just random modifiers.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that fits a little bit better too. It's like, and that leads to not so much confusion. Oh God, I died. That leads to not so much confusion too in terms of players, right? Because that's one thing.
Yeah.
Okay, what all qualifies as chaos damage? What all qualifies as this type of damage?
Yeah, I try to make it quite sort of like straightforward.
Yeah, I like that. Makes it a lot easier. Let's do the Phoenix here.
These guys are too strong, aren't they? They
They're
need a nerf.
too strong. Shut them down. Nerf them. I was trying to see if I took off something that was like big iron skin on hit.
Yeah, Iron Skin on hit and Mana Shield on hit, Health on hit, they're all really important, sort of like defensive tools.
Oh, for sure. It's 2:30 a.m. at night over here. Good night. Don't make it too late. Well, thanks for stopping by, Alpha. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good night, buddy. I don't know the meaning of the word too late.
I've literally never heard of those words before in my life. This was a really cool fight. I remember when I first fired up this game and I went to go fight the Phoenix. It was just super fun because, you know, you think he's gone. He's not. He's pulling a Jalen Brock. You think you want it and you don't.
Yeah, I think Mythical Trials is probably my favorite out of all the endgame types, just because it gives me so much license to do something quite different with each of them.
Yeah.
Because I can tailor them around a mythical creature. Like I can't wait to do Minotaur's Maze.
Yes.
I think that's going to be a really. I know I've spoken to you about it before, but I think that's going to be a really fun one. So you'll be in the maze, and there'll be a bunch of different shadows. And these are sort of like shadows of the Minotaur. And if you kill them, the Minotaur will drop less loot. No, he'll drop more loot, but he'll be harder to kill. So it's kind of like that trade-off. Do you want the easier fight with less loot, or do you want to take the harder fight, but get better stuff?
Absolutely. No, and see, I remember when you first told me about that, and that was the one I'm most excited for too. Was the Minotaur's Maze, just because I'm huge fan of mythology, and especially like the Minotaur and everything like that. So
Yeah.
what other ones do you have planned?
Yeah, it's a cool subject matter as well. So
Yeah.
and I think it's good as well when you've got sort of like um, a basis to fall back on, like a defined sort of like story and stuff. It kind of pulls people in. Like it's something that I'm really looking forward to with the Vikings ARPG.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's such a rich sort of like lore like already formed around it. Like everyone knows the gods, everyone knows about the Vikings. Like it already sort of like pre-establishes the game before you've even done anything, just because of the theme that you've chosen.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I fell through the map. No.
You fell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I so the Phoenix went into one of those like little pits. I'll show
Yeah.
you. And then I couldn't hit him,
Come up.
so I jumped in after him, and I died.
You jumped in the pit.
I did. It was one of these. Yeah, I was like, let's do it.
Okay.
But
oh yeah, I see it. It's coming up on the stream now.
yeah.
You're like, yeah, I'm going in after him. Let's go.
So exactly, man. I mean, I'm not a quitter. He wants to hide in the pit. I'll go in the pit. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll add some form of barrier there, so you can't suicide after the bird.
So
how do you create a boss fight?
Yeah.
What sort of are the pillars of a boss experience? I would say difficulty would be the first one. There's no point having a boss if there's a pushover. Secondly, probably scale. Typically, you find bosses are bigger than your player character to sort of like add that sort of like grandiose element to them. So 9 times out of 10, I would make the boss larger than the player, usually by quite a bit. Thirdly, would be size of the arena. You don't want a space that's so big that you can just endlessly kite. You want to make it so that either the boss has a lot of gap closers, or the space in which you are eventually backs you up into a corner. And then I would say the final element is making sure that it's got at least 3 or 4 interesting mechanics that it switches between, and making sure that there's some sort of like learning experience to the fight. That kind of goes for every enemy in the game, though, not just bosses. You want to make it so that every enemy is kind of like presenting some form of threat that you need to become accustomed to.
Yeah. So like this one in particular is really fun because he changes his attack patterns each time, and then it builds up into where he'll use all of them in the final little battle.
Yeah, he kind of levels up, like he unlocks different abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nothing makes me more sad when I die and I have no clue what happened. Yeah, exactly. I think a big thing with bosses that they should be telegraphed. You kind of need to have an idea of what's coming even before it's happened, and then it's your fault if you get caught in it. That's another thing that I try and make sure I do with bosses. Actually, I always try and make sure that their skills are very slow, their animations are long. I try and make it so that on average a player's animation is between sort of 1 second and 2 seconds. I've kind of broken that a bit on Warbringer and gone more sort of like 2.5 to 3 seconds, but that's because I want the class to feel really slow. Not in terms of clear speed, just in terms of the skill usage. So I try and make it with bosses that if they've got this massive sort of attack, it's going to be at least sort of like 3 to 5 seconds. So you've got plenty of time to move out of the way. But then if you do get hit, you're dead.
You're done.
Yeah, I really hate cheap deaths in games. I think there's no need for it.
In the same boat.
It's not cool.
Can't. Yeah, it bothers the hell out of me. Is there any damage that bypasses Iron Skin?
No, not currently. I'll probably have that as a sort of like unique mechanic of a boss fight or something like that.
Yeah, like corruption or something.
Yeah, it'd be a cool one to have. I'm trying to do sort of like as much interesting stuff as I can with different fights, like with the Mirror Blade Arena, the new arena.
Yeah.
You have all those Mirror Blade sort of like clone things spawn at the start, and you have a set amount of time to kill as many as you can. And everyone that you kill reduces the Mirror Blade's health when he arrives. So it kind of promotes a really like DPS centric sort of build, whereas the previous arena, the Imperium Trials, it promotes sort of like a tanky build that can outlast all 10 waves.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting that many relic stacks because there's not that many enemies. They're just quite tanky. And they become stronger as you go as well. So yeah, I'm really trying to like diversify all the different types of endgame fights, because I don't want it to be a case of like, yeah, I've got 200 different endgame fights, but ultimately they all boil down to the same thing. I wanted to make sure that if I've got all that content, there needs to be some differences between them.
Absolutely.
Oh, I fell down.
I know.
There's some weird collision stuff going on with the Warbringer. I think I forgot to turn some collision off somewhere, because you shouldn't be knocking them about like that.
Oh, that's alright. Those dudes, let me tell you, they're coming up for you, but with the little Chaos Storm bolts, those guys are brutal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're fun though, aren't they?
Yeah, so it's like, oh god. Golem's Embrace. Let's see, I haven't done this guy yet. Oh, okay.
I think just like it's good to have OP items in the game, it's good to have OP enemies in the game as well. It keeps you on your toes. Like everyone remembers from Diablo 2, like the souls that just like explode on your head and kill you.
Yes. And what kind of cracks me up is something I've noticed. I was talking to my friends about this probably a couple months ago, but it seems like birds in games are always just absolute predators, man. Like, they just deal the most damn damage. Like, it's ridiculous.
You have to think though, like if we had birds that were capable of hunting humans, like they had that size, they would be apex predators.
That's true.
Like, think about like pterodactyls.
Yeah,
Like if we had them knocking about now, would be dead.
that's true. I mean, the one I'm most worried about is ants, man.
Oh yeah,
you get big ass ants, it's game over. You're done.
yeah. Well, there's ants like in the world, isn't there? Where if they bite you, you know about it.
Oh yeah, fire ants.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will destroy you just for fun.
I live in England. I'm safe, but
You're set, man. That's you don't gotta worry about anything.
the worst we get is the flying ants, and they're just more annoying than anything.
You're like, what the hell is this thing? Oh man. All right. So, let's do this. So, we've seen the Warbringer. We've seen a lot of the Warbringer. Chat, is there another class that you guys would like to see? Here in the last probably 15 minutes of the stream. Let me hop back to the main menu here. Or I'll just exit. Gosh dang. Here we go.
I'm trying to think. I've made quite a lot of changes to Elementalist
We can fire it up.
since you last played.
Let's do it. So, just to show everybody the different classes. So the Elementalist.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, do you want to... You could do a Hex Lord and then quickly boost up to level 30, unlock Class Mastery, and show off the Chaos Beast.
Sure, let's
if
do
you
it.
want.
Let's do it.
That way you get 8 new skills straight away. So
Absolutely.
it's just a lot of stuff to dick about with in it for 15 minutes.
Of course. Yeah, no, you're good. So one thing I would say as a piece of feedback,
Yeah.
the characters are a little dark here. I think if we could maybe make them like pop out, that might.
What's that on the character select? Sorry,
Yes.
I'm a bit behind on the
No,
stream.
you're good. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, on the character select, when you pull up each class, they seem like they're kind of like shadowed.
Yeah, it's just the scene's really dark. Yeah, I can definitely give them some form of like spotlight though. Yeah. That's good.
I think that would help a lot.
Mhm.
All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and we'll
No
hop in on
worries.
the old Hex
Get
Lord
that.
here. And there is a hardcore option too for you hardcore folks out there. All right.
You masochists.
I know. Oh man. Tell you what. All right. There we go. Okay. So at level 30.
Yeah, level 30 unlocks class mastery. You just have to go do the Guardian fight once and then you get your point. But I've made the Guardian fight a lot easier, especially in the early stages as well. I want it to be sort of like everyone can at least experience class mastery to some extent.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Let's see. This seems like just such a Hex Lord like item.
What did you find? I'm so far behind.
Death approaches and death flees.
Yeah. The hex lording.
Yes. The old school one with the old school shield. I like it.
The shield?
Yeah, like remember when the Hex Lord first dropped, you had to craft main hand plus the shield.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't got any bloody shield icons, so I have to use some like weird like black and white one.
Yeah. No, you're good. I it just reminded me of the good old days, right?
Yeah. Back in the day.
Back in the day. All
It
right.
wasn't even that long ago.
I know, right? It's like, yeah, back in the day, I remember that. It's like, oh
It
god.
feels ages ago though, doesn't it?
I
But yeah.
know. It's wild. Trying to get just some stuff put on here. And then I don't know if there's any pants.
Clear of Mind. They're like super chase item.
Clear of mind. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Clear of mind. Yeah, I could see that. All right, cool. That'll be good enough. All right. So for, let's see, for old Naomi over here, you got Plague, Poison Nova. All right. Let's see.
The world map can be used.
All right, so
you have already discovered.
Guardian fight. Where was that one at?
If you press H, you go to Class Mastery, and then it's at the bottom.
Oh,
It's
there
like
you
a
go.
button.
Challenge.
I'm just gonna refresh the screen in a second because it seems I'm like fucking years behind.
Yeah, you're good.
I don't know if there's some sort of like built-up delay, like over time, if you've been watching for a few hours or something.
I'm not sure. Honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just Twitch, really. They just like to screw with you, don't they?
Yes. Oop. It's a bad habit of mine. I keep pressing shift to like stay still.
Yes, space bar in SB.
Mm-hmm. So I will say, like, one of my favorite abilities, probably in the entire game, is that Chaos Storm ability.
Yeah, it's
Like,
cool, isn't it?
it's
really
just-
nice.
Oh yeah, it's badass to look at. It's just all of it. All of it.
Yeah, I refreshed the stream and it's all caught up now.
All right, that's good. Wonder what was going on. Might have been Discord sniping your bandwidth.
Yeah, I don't know. Character models are awesome. I feel like lighting needs a lot of work. That and UI/skill effects. Yeah, a lot of stuff is placeholder.
Yeah.
I'm phasing art stuff in and out all the time, just as budget allows. It's all like self-funded and stuff, so
Yeah.
I don't have an artist either, so I have to rely on marketplace content, which for the most part is good. It just sometimes requires some work to make it fit, like thematically. But yeah, alpha things, don't worry about it. The Guardian fight's so easy now compared to how it was. I mean, granted, you're only on stage 1, but it does get hard still.
Yeah.
But I wanted it to be the case of like if you're sort of pushing endgame content and you're in sort of like tier 6, tier 7, you should feasibly be able to do all 25 stages of the Guardian fight.
And see, that's
It's
the thing.
kind of like Trials in Path of Exile.
Yeah. Yeah. Your labs.
Yeah, labs, yeah. Like stage 25 of a Guardian fight would be like equivalent to like a Nuba lab.
Gotcha. Okay.
No, there won't be labs in the game. I hate labs. Earlier we were talking about doing the campaign in Path of Exile at the start of every league.
Mm-hmm.
When they introduced labs, that put me off even more. I was just like, I've got now on top of doing the campaign, I've got to do these like bloody Indiana Jones style adventure things as well.
So, just kind of go through the tree. So, down here at the bottom, as you spend points, you build up this mastery, and then you just kind of progress down here. So, I really like this system, FYI. Rift had a similar system, and I love it. So it makes each point feel valuable, which is great.
That was the plan. I'm glad you approved.
Yes. All right. So I haven't actually tried out Chaos Beast here yet.
Oh, you're in for a treat. I think it's one of my favorite. You get all new skills. That's why it's a good thing to showcase on streams and YouTube videos and stuff.
Yeah. So it looks like you get these 2 set items that come with it.
Yeah.
Beastly Growl and Beastly Approach.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. When you cement your class mastery choice, you get sort of like a starter set to go with it, just to sort of push you in the right direction, playstyle wise.
Oh, that's badass. Look at that. That is fucking cool, man.
It's creepy, I think.
I love it.
Imagine that crawling into your nightmares.
No joke. So, can you use regular skills with that, or are you only using these skills?
Give you a little message. If you just go on the skill book and try and equip one as normal.
Oh, gotcha. Let's see. It's such a pathetic skill. I love it. That's amazing.
I try to include humor when I can. Not too much, because you don't want to overdo it, but
I am all about it.
I really love, like, it's something that I still love to this day, but like playing World of Warcraft and how all the quest names are sort of like culture references.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like pop culture.
Yes. Alright, so let's see. Let's take Feral Howl, move that over there. Actually, maybe not. Let's see. I'm trying to see which ones.
Yeah, it requires a bit of reading when you unlock a bunch of new skills, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, but I'm all about it. Trying to see which ones have cooldowns. What I want to use as my primary.
Rampage. Flurry's a good one.
Rampage.
Flurry and Rampage are sort of your base skills, so to speak.
Let's do it. Put Flurry.
And then the
there.
other are more cooldown focused.
Put Ghost Slam there. Storming Chaos there, and then I'll grab maybe Chaos Rage. That one looks fun.
Remember, you can use multiple copies of the same skill as well to circumvent cooldowns and stuff, and
Oh, really?
stack effects and that. Yeah.
All right, I'm in. I like it. All right, let's go give this a shot.
Yeah, that's something that most people don't realize, because obviously other ARPGs don't do it, but in this, each skill is treated as its own entity. So if you want to run 5 times Meteor, you can, and you can just spam it all day long and ignore the cooldown, because by the time you finish using the 5th one, the first one's back up again.
Oh, that's awesome.
Obviously, for some skills, it doesn't work that way. Like if they apply a unique sort of buff, then typically you can only have, or like auras, you can only have one instance of an aura up at once, because I don't want people running 5 overlapping auras.
Yes.
That's all the same aura. But if it's an independent skill that just happens to have a cooldown, then you can circumvent that cooldown.
Gotcha. Okay.
On the offensive tree, the Chaos aura is a really good one to get with Chaos Beast, if you were looking for suggestions.
Yeah. Hey, I'm in. Chaos Pin too. Probably pretty good. Let's see.
So if you guys have spoken about it, but what's the plans for caps, if any? What do you mean by caps? Is there any advice / tips you want to share that you learned during your journey so far with this game? Oh, you ask these questions that we could talk about all day. So I think don't be afraid to do something just because people tell you that it's not going to happen or something. Like, this goes for just life in general, really, I suppose. But like, every person in the industry, be it a lecturer, be it another game dev, whoever I spoke to, they always said to me, "You're not going to make an ARPG by yourself," especially because I was in like my first year of uni when I started this game. And I just thought, yeah, well, that's what I want to do, so I might as well give it a go. Um, and had I listened to them, like, I wouldn't have made it. Um, so I think, yeah, just because someone doesn't think that you can do something, it doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that they can't do it, so they're putting that on you. Um, in terms of actual game development, just take it step by step. Think about each individual thing that you want to achieve, like putting items in the game, making AI, making skills, quests. Just break it down into individual tasks, and then eventually it all comes together. If you try and look at it as one big project, you're never going to get anywhere. You just need to take victory in the small moments. Yeah, I think that's the biggest things that I've learned so far. Um, Caps on the block chance. Oh no, there's no hard caps on stats and stuff. You can get 100% crit chance, you can get 100% block rate. It's just whether or not there's enough items in the game to do it, or what you're sacrificing to get to that point.
So blood works.
Is the biggest thing. But yeah, it goes back to internal cooldowns. I find it's the same sort of principle as that. It's just sort of like, it's putting that artificial nerf in the way to prevent player ingenuity. If you can make a build that has 100% dodge chance, I want to see it. That'd be cool. I mean, I'm gonna nerf it, but I want to see it. Where can I download the game? Just on Steam. If you just go on Steam and then search for Sanctum Breach, there's a demo, or you can buy the game in its current state, and then obviously you'll have it for life then as I develop it. Is there diminishing returns with caps though? Currently there is no diminishing returns in the game. Well, there is in terms of increased speed actually. That's the only one that has a diminishing return in it at the moment. In terms of, you don't get a 1-for-1 sort of like point investment. It's on a curve. However, every other stat there is no diminishing returns. It's more in terms of the more you want to increase it, the more you have to sacrifice, because if you want to reach 100% crit chance, for example, all your offensive, all your prefixes, I should say, are going to be taken up. So then you have no sort of like source of increased damage. You have no source of on hit, like Iron Skin or Mana Shield or something. So yeah, you've achieved 100% crit chance, but you're going to be seriously hampered in other areas.
Let's do. I don't know what's going on. I'm immortal or something.
You look to be dying to me on stream. Your house going down at least.
So, I can't move or attack or anything. But all right, I'm gonna switch.
Oh, that was strange. It all looked to be working on stream. What was wrong?
I was stuck. Like it was weird. I couldn't move at all. I'm gonna do it one more time here. Let's see.
See if you can replicate.
Yeah. So I was right here in the center. I went down here and I cast one ability.
Goblin's Gift in Auction House. Great way to spend.
All right. Yeah, it looks like it's fixed. I don't know if there was something in particular happening, but either way, it's working now.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have a look on the VOD, see if I can spot it.
Yeah.
It's really tricky sometimes with bugs because you have to do a very specific set of things in order to activate the bug, and it can be a nightmare to try and replicate.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, if you can't replicate it, your odds of fixing it as well are like next to none.
That was always my problem when I was trying to fix IT issues. It was never a problem when somebody called me. It was always a problem when I got back to my desk.
Yeah.
What's the funniest bug?
9 times out of 10, actually, like fixing the bug is quite easy. It's just finding it and replicating it that's the struggle.
For sure.
What was the funniest bug you encountered? Some collision bugs are really funny, where you just like send enemies flying or something, or go flying yourself. Physics-based bugs are always funny. Apart from that, I've seen some crazy sort of like damage stats and health stats and stuff. There was a bug where you could equip a weapon, and if you had a weapon already equipped that sort of like blocked that slot, it gave you the stats of the weapon but didn't actually equip it. So if you equip the same weapon, say like, I don't know, 100 times, you would have like god tier stats. People were messing around with this and they got their movement speed up to sort of like 3000%. So they were just like Sonic up and down the map.
I love it.
Yeah, movement speed and physics, I would say, is probably the funniest sort of categories of bugs.
Is this AoE supposed to be permanent?
Yeah, if you read on it, it's basically... Oh, this is kind of like a Righteous Fire sort of one that we were talking about earlier, actually. If you... I
like it.
If you're dealing damage with it, you gain a stack of it. It's kind of like Sweeping Winds from Diablo 3. As long as you're dealing damage, it'll stay up. If you stop dealing damage, it'll go away.
Awesome. I dig it. Yep, there it goes.
It's quite a skill. It's got a bunch of other stuff going on, like I think it like regens Iron Skin or something like that as well, but at the cost of health or something. I don't know. I can't remember. I only make them. I don't
I know, right? Look, man. I'm not gonna pretend I understand all this.
I just I don't know. I just do shit and it works. It comes together,
Exactly.
and I forget about it. It's funny, really, because I'm so like on it when I'm creating it. I'm so like I've got everything spreadsheeted. It's all documented. It's all part of this like grand master plan for how the class plays and how the build plays and all that sort of stuff. But once it's done, I just kind of like delete it from my brain.
It's gone.
I'm running a mechanical hard drive in here. It's not an SSD.
gotta update it. Gotta update it. What's going on, Valk? Thank you, man, for the sub. I appreciate it. Thank you much. We just cycled off of the Warbringer. I promise I was playing a melee focused class.
Yeah, for like 2 hours. 2 hours of man mode melee.
Exactly.
Mind you, this is a melee class as well, so
Exactly.
you're fine. You're covered.
I'm set.
You're swiping at people with your claws. How
Exactly. I'm destroying
how
them.
melee can you get?
These little bastards.
Yeah, ethical melee.
It's ethical, of
Claws
course.
only.
Of course. It's 100% ethical.
You can't kill those baby griffins. Too strong.
I know they're OP, man. Too fast. So, question: Are you planning on adding any skill trees for these?
Yeah.
Nice.
Every skill in the game will have a skill tree, including universal skills as well.
I love it.
This is a Hex Lord, but the Chaos Beast class mastery.
Yeah.
You know how you were saying that you didn't want to play until there was a melee class in the game? There's been one all along. You just look hard enough.
Exactly. It's been right in front of you the entire time.
No, it is a melee class, but I know what you mean. It's not that sort of like bulky bruiser sort of. I'm gonna, Hulk smash kind of class.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's do dragon before we wrap up.
The classic boss fight.
The classic
Chaos Beast versus Dragon.
Exactly. So, will Delirium cause it to deal damage to itself with its tornadoes?
No, it doesn't work on bosses.
Damn it!
Yeah, no, you can't like stun or freeze or, do that kind of thing to bosses. They're immune. It only works on peasant creatures.
Too OP.
Yeah. You can apply like burn and bleed and all that sort of stuff to bosses, but just with the defensive ailments, I thought that bosses should be immune, just for the simple fact of I don't want people to be able to cheese fights.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. Is the Chaos Beast transformation dependent on these two set pieces, Beastly Growl and Beastly Approach?
No, it's permanent. It's based on your class mastery. Every class mastery gives you a different visual appearance, because it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Progression should always be visual as well. So,
absolutely.
like for the Elementalist, have you played the Elementalist with the new character model where he floats around?
Not where he floats around. Oh yeah, you know what? I'm thinking of Spellblade. Yes, I have played that one.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
So when you pick your class mastery, the sort of like energy sort of like cloud thing that you float around on, it changes to match the damage type that you've picked. So if you've gone fire, you'll have like a fire cloud. If you've gone cold, you have like a frozen cloud. That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like it. There's a cursed.
If you pick Cursed Prophet, the one that you're looking at the moment, you turn into a skeleton.
Gotcha. What about Plague Dweller? Bat Swarm is pretty badass.
Yeah, I think Plague Dweller is quite underplayed at the moment. I thought it was going to be a really popular class mastery because everyone loved like Plague and Poison Nova, but people don't really seem to have taken to Plague Dweller.
Interesting. Yeah, because I mean, I'm Poison Nova, Plague, Poison Burst. Those are like, that was my bread and butter. Not necessarily Plague.
Yeah.
Just teleporting in, blowing things up.
Yeah, they're really fun base skills. But yeah, I thought the Plague Dweller skills were fun. I thought I'd done a good job, but apparently not.
Apparently not. Well, I believe in you. I think it's great.
I think the thing is like, it's just the other two class masteries are kind of like really unique. Like a Chaos Beast, is like obviously super unique in the fact that it's the only one where you replace all your base skills with completely new skills. And then the Cursed Prophet is the only summoner in the game at the moment. But I feel like when the other classes are more fleshed out and like Demonologist is added to become the summoner, I think then people will start to go to Plague Dweller a bit more.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. And
or if a YouTuber or streamer makes a broken build of it, and then people are like, "Oh my god, Plague Dweller, where have you been all my life?"
Oh my god, I gotta play it. It's like an Affliction Warlock. Bring it.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right, Blood Orcs. That's how it goes.
Yeah. You YouTubers, you create the meta, don't you?
It's true. Yeah, we try our best. I suck at builds, so
Don't worry. I'll give you some inside tips, and you can become number one Sanctum Breach YouTuber.
perfect. I'm in. This is the makings of something great. I'm all about it. Well,
Oh,
awesome.
right.
Well,
Should we wrap up there? 'Cause
yes, I was gonna see if anyone had any final questions or anything like that for this installment of checking in on Sanctum Breach. We'll be doing more of these in the future. But anything feedback wise on the Warbringer for those of you that were here to check that out. Any feedback on Hex Beast? Anything that you'd like to see in the game? Any questions? Anything? What's next for Sanctum Breach? All that type of stuff. Of
yeah,
course.
it's being chucked up on YouTube anyway, isn't it? So
Yep. Yep.
dump in the comments, and I'll keep an eye.
Yeah. Nice beard. There it
Thanks.
is.
I made it myself.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, thank you
Oh,
everybody for stopping by, and feel free to dive into Sanctum Breach's Discord, share anything and everything in there. Evar is always looking for more feedback. So if you're watching this on YouTube, links in the description. And yeah, so great time's been a blast. Game's super, just definitely coming along, which is awesome. And I'm excited to see some of the other classes too.
thanks.
So cool. Well, awesome. Well, thanks for having me, Sam, and I
Thanks for
will
having me.
talk to you next time, buddy.